Imagine that there is a silent force within you, an invisible but infinitely powerful energy capable of shaping the reality around you, a force that does not shout, does not demand, but responds to every thought, every emotion, every image you hold in your mind. At the beginning of the 20th century, a woman dared to unravel this mystery. Her name was Genevieve Behrend, the only personal student of Thomas Troward, the man whose teachings inspired the basis of what we now know as the law of manifestation. While the world was still seeking answers in temples and ancient scriptures, Genevieve discovered something different, a silent power that dwells in every human being, just waiting to be recognized. She called it the inner creative force, and believed that when thought is united with emotion and faith, the universe has no choice but to respond. Today, you will discover what she called the lost lesson about manifestation, a teaching that goes far beyond wishing or asking. It is about becoming the vibration of what you seek. So, if you feel that there is something in you ready to awaken, stay with me until the end of this video, because perhaps this is the reminder your soul has been waiting to hear. And before we continue, take the opportunity to subscribe to the channel here, so the universe will know that you are ready to receive more messages like this. The silent force within. Within every human being, there's a point of absolute silence. It is not the silence of the absence of sound, but the silence of total presence. It is there, between one thought and another, that the energy Genevieve called the universal mind resides. She taught that this invisible field is not something outside of us. It is who we are. Everything that exists, sound, light, matter, even time, is just the echo of this silent force manifesting itself in different forms. When you think, you touch this force. When you feel with conviction, you move it. And when you believe, truly believe, it responds. Genevieve said that the mistake most people make is trying to force manifestation with words or superficial desires. But true creation is not born of effort. It is born of the state of being. Imagine, for a moment, that your thoughts are like waves on the surface of a lake. The more agitated the lake, the more distorted the reflected image becomes. But when there is calm, when there is silence, the reflection becomes clear. The silent force within you works exactly like this. The more aligned you are with what you feel and believe, the faster the universe reflects that vibration back to you. Genevieve called this the power to see with the eyes of the mind. And for her, everything you hold with clarity and emotion in that inner space will inevitably take shape in the visible world. The secret is not to speak to the universe, but to listen to it within yourself. It is not to struggle to attract something, but to vibrate at the frequency of those who already possess it, because it is in silence that the invisible moves, and that is where the creative force begins to work. Genevieve's lost lesson on manifestation. In the records left by Genevieve Behrend, there is a teaching that few have truly understood. She said that the universe does not respond to words, but to the vibration hidden behind them. And that was the essence of the lesson, which time has almost erased. You don't create what you want. You create what you believe. Genevieve learned this directly from Thomas Troward, the master who taught that the human mind is a reflection of the divine, a spark of the creative thought that gave form to all things. But Genevieve took this knowledge to a more intimate level. She understood that the power is not in thinking about something, but in becoming the thought itself. She used to say, when you see yourself possessing what you desire, you are not pretending. You are awakening the memory of something that is already yours on another plane. That was the core of her practice. Not imagining through imagination, but imagining until you feel it. Feeling until the emotion silences the doubt, and the universe then has no choice but to reflect what you have become. Genevieve saw the mind as a bridge between the visible and the invisible, and every true thought, sustained by faith and emotion, as a luminous thread connecting you to creative energy. Manifestation, for her, was an act of harmony, not control. It was aligning with the flow of creation, allowing the invisible to become form without resistance. She taught that everything you desire already exists. You just need to vibrate at the same frequency to see what has always been there. Just as a radio does not create music, it only tunes into the station. Your mind does not create the miracle, it only reveals it. This was the lesson the world forgot. The silent force is not outside of you. It is you. And when your inner self vibrates in truth, the entire universe responds in perfect correspondence. How to apply this lesson today? Genevieve Behrend's world was quiet. There were no digital distractions, no voices competing for attention. But the power she described, the power to shape reality through thought, remains the same. What has changed is our ability to hear the silence where that power resides. Today, applying this lesson does not mean abandoning the modern world, but learning to remember yourself amid the noise. It means stopping, even for a few moments, and reconnecting with the invisible space where thought is born. Close your eyes and observe your thoughts. Don't fight them. Just notice what vibrations you have been unconsciously emitting. Are they vibrations of scarcity, fear, haste, or of certainty, peace, and confidence? Genevieve said that the universe is exact. It reflects who you are, not who you want to be. Therefore, all transformation begins with inner vibration. It is not wanting that moves the cosmos, but being. Nowadays, applying the lost lesson is an act of inner vigilance. It is observing what you feel throughout the day and asking, is this in harmony with what I want to manifest? If the answer is no, then stop, breathe, and realign yourself. Visualize, feel, and act as if you already possess it. With each conscious thought, you are adjusting the frequency of your reality. And the longer you remain in this state of clarity and silent gratitude, the faster matter bends to your vibration. Genevieve's lesson is not a distant ideal. It is a living practice. Today, more than ever, the world needs minds that remember this forgotten power. The power to create from silence, to radiate the invisible, and to transform the ordinary into the sacred, just by the way you think, the way of creative silence. There is a place within you where time does not exist, a space between one thought and another, where anything is possible. That is where the silent force dwells, the point where invisible energy begins to condense into form. Genevieve Behrend called this state the quiet heart of the Creator, where thought ceases to be noise and becomes creative power. But reaching this point is not an intellectual task. It is an inner journey. The path of creative silence begins with surrender. Surrender to the now, to the stillness that many avoid, to the pause between desires and actions. In this silence, the ego dissolves and consciousness touches something greater, the field from which all possibilities are born. When you sit quietly and just observe, without trying to change anything, you begin to feel a subtle vibration, as if the universe were breathing with you. It is at that moment that the mind becomes a mirror of the divine. And then, a thought arises, not an ordinary thought, but a pure intention, free from fear. This intention carries the weight of creation. It is not forced. It does not come from effort. It is revealed in the space between silence and inspiration. Genevieve said that this is the secret that many ignore. The more you silence yourself, the more the universe speaks. Action arises naturally, like a spontaneous response from the cosmos to your vibration. Therefore, the true creator does not act out of anxiety but out of listening. He listens to life and acts when he feels the moment is right. This is the way of creative silence, Donlain. State of consciousness where you stop pursuing what you want and start attracting what is compatible with your vibration. The invisible language of creation. The universe does not listen to words. It responds to the silent vibration that emanates from your inner state. Genevieve Behrend taught that thought alone is a seed, but it is feeling that makes it germinate. It is emotion, not speech, that converses with the cosmos. You can repeat what you want 1,000 times, but if doubt, fear, or haste dwell within you, those are the messages that the universe actually receives. Creation does not happen in the noise of words, but in the silent alignment between mind and heart. When thought vibrates in harmony with feeling, energy condenses and the invisible begins to take shape. The universe speaks a subtle language, the language of coherence, the frequency of certainty. That's why Genevieve said, "It's not what you think that creates, but what you feel to be true." The silent force responds to the state of being, not to the request. It moves when you become what you seek. When you vibrate in the consciousness of already possessing what you desire, there is no resistance, no separation. You become an open channel for creative power to flow. Silence then ceases to be the absence of sound and transforms into divine language, a dialogue between your soul and the all. The frequency of silence, transforming thought into power. Silence is not empty. It is the field where all possibilities rest, waiting to be called into existence. It is in this invisible space that the silent force dwells, a living, attentive energy that responds to the vibration of awakened consciousness. Genevieve Behrend said that the mind is the channel through which the spirit shapes matter. But for this power to flow, the mind needs to be purified of noise. All doubt, all fear, all haste distort the creative vibration, like a cloudy mirror that does not reflect the original image of the soul. True creation begins when you become a clear mirror, where the light of thought is reflected without distortion. Silence is the polishing of this mirror. It is in silence that thought gains power, that imagination transforms into active energy, and that the invisible begins to condense into the visible. To enter this frequency, close your eyes and abandon the attempt to control. Feel the subtle pulse that exists behind the breath. Perceive that there is a greater intelligence acting, a flow that knows exactly the path of manifestation. At that moment, you cease to be someone trying to create and become the very channel of creation. Thought, then, ceases to be merely a mental process and becomes a sacred act, an extension of the divine will itself. The silent force does not manifest itself through effort, but through surrender. It arises when the I want transforms into I am. And it is at this point of inner stillness that the universe recognizes your vibration and responds with absolute precision to the frequency you emit. Applying Genevieve Behrend's teachings in daily life, Genevieve Behrend's wisdom was not created to be admired, but to be lived. She believed that the human mind is a direct reflection of the universal mind, and that each conscious thought is a seed sown in the invisible field of creation. Applying her lesson is learning to cultivate these seeds with intention, faith, and inner silence. The first step, becoming aware of what you think. Most people live reacting to the world, thinking without realizing what they are creating. But every thought is a vibration sent out into the universe. Observe what inhabits your mind throughout the day. Do you think with fear or with confidence, with doubt or with certainty? The universe doesn't respond to words. It responds to the vibration that sustains them. The second step, reprogramming the vibration. When a limiting thought arises, don't fight it. Just acknowledge it, breathe, and replace it with an idea that expands, not restricts. Genevieve said that creative power doesn't operate in tension, but in harmony. The lighter your inner state, the faster creation flows. The third step, silencing to listen. Set aside daily moments for silence. Not empty silence, but the kind that connects. In this space, the mind aligns with the universal mind, and what once seemed impossible begins to reorganize itself naturally. Silence is the laboratory where the invisible transforms into form. The fourth step, acting with alignment. Conscious action is the seal of creation. It's not acting out of anxiety, but out of attunement. When the impulse to act comes accompanied by calm, clarity, and serene enthusiasm, know this: it is the silent force itself, guiding the next step. And then the external world becomes merely a mirror of your inner world. You no longer pursue results. They begin to emerge as an inevitable reflection of your state of being. With each thought, with each breath, you are dialoguing with the universe, and the more you learn to listen to the silence within yourself, the more you realize that you have never been separated from the creative source. The return to the silent force. In the end, it all comes down to silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence, the one in which the soul remembers who it truly is. Genevieve Behrend understood that creation does not begin with effort, but with listening. Listening to the invisible is the first act of true manifestation. The fourth step, acting with alignment. Conscious action is the seal of creation. It's not acting out of anxiety, but out of attunement. When the impulse to act comes accompanied by calm, clarity, and serene enthusiasm, know this. It is the silent force itself, guiding the next step. And then the external world becomes merely a mirror of your inner world. You no longer pursue results. They begin to emerge as an inevitable reflection of your state of being. With each thought, with each breath, you are dialoguing with the universe, and the more you learn to listen to the silence within yourself, the more you realize that you have never been separated from the creative source. The return to the silent force. In the end, it all comes down to silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of presence, the one in which the soul remembers who it truly is. Genevieve Behrend understood that creation does not begin with effort, but with listening. Listening to the invisible is the first act of true manifestation.